Bend over to your right. What the was that?
What's up, Bears fans? People want to hear me talk.
What's going on, Bears fans, and welcome to another episode of the Nicholas Moriano Show. I'm your host, Nicholas Moriano. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and of course, share this fellow YouTube channel with all of your Bears fans, friends. Guys, I don't know if the internet just on my end is really crappy, but hopefully it's coming out better on your end. If you can, just leave a comment here if you're joining me live. But I did just want to come on here, talk about this Bears Saints game after getting a chance to watch all of the all 22 and just kind of share some top 3 takeaways from this 4th straight victory for Ben Johnson, this Bears team in the 2025 season. And I think there's a lot that you can take from this game that is applicable as you kind of move forward with the rest of the season, especially when you look at the physicality that the defense played with throughout the entirety of that game. And I asked a bunch of players in the locker room post game, just what kind of led to that? If you heard Ben Johnson's press conference on Monday, he started off by saying that this is the most physical that he had seen from his team. And you saw that from start to finish. And even mentioned the DBs, which I'm glad he did, because you saw some vicious hits from Kyler Gordon, whether they're flag worthy or not, Jaquan Brisker, Tyreek Stevenson on one of the sideline passes to one of the tight ends. He delivered a big hit, but you saw that consistently. And I see Michael Perez, definitely some stuttering, but audio is coming through good. Have no idea what's going on. I've done the same exact setup every single time, but if you want, you can just not even look at the YouTube channel, just listen to my voice and you'll still be good, because I think audio is always the most important aspect here. But you saw that physicality from the defense, but you also saw that physicality carry over not only on defense, but it was in the way that the Bears ran the football, using more 12, 13 personnel, just getting big on bigs, using the tight ends, setting the edge, getting DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai involved. But you also saw that in special teams as well. So all 3 phases being physical. So that kind of stood out. Defense, the physicality also leading to some turnovers, the run game as well, just doing what it did on the ground. Another kind of consecutive performance that we're seeing DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, even Roschon Johnson got I think a carry in this game for 11 yards. So you saw some good elements of the run game show up in that Saints victory, and they kind of needed it with how the passing offense was looking. And then my third takeaway here, we have the physicality of defense, you have the run game, but Caleb Williams to me was an interesting day. It definitely wasn't his best performance, but as you know, many players have always said, it's like when you go back and watch the film, it's never as good as you thought it was, and it's never as bad. I definitely felt that on the latter part. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I'll explain why I believe that as we kind of get into these takeaways. But for everybody that's tuning in, hanging out while it's the video is being stupid, I appreciate you guys. I was trying to fix every single thing. I even restarted the computer before going live here. Did that, mess with the video settings, and nothing really came up. And I'm like, all right, I don't care. We're gonna get this out here. And then for your audio listeners, it's gonna be a good episode for you guys. Apple, you have your Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your Amazon Music, everywhere you can listen to podcasts will be on there. So this might be an episode for you guys with how glitchy, and I can see it on my end, how glitchy it is. It's like we're in 4K HD with dial-up internet, which shouldn't be the case because it's never done this before. But bear with me. Appreciate you guys anyway. So to start off with that first takeaway with just the defense, and I know I've been like posting clips here and there throughout, I don't know, the last 2 days, but I'm loving what Dennis Allen has been doing defensively. And if you look at just some of the plays that happened throughout the course of that Bears Saints game, it's where you have 8 players on the line of scrimmage. Who the hell is going to blitz you? If you're a quarterback, unless you are just dialed into film study have picked up on some tendencies. You really, one, maybe you have an idea, but you can't always be sure, right? So I think that's one of the wrinkles that Dennis Allen's going to bring to a defensive game plan, lining up a bunch of players in the line of scrimmage. Some guys are going to blitz, some guys are going to drop into coverage, and then you're going to see, variations of it throughout the entirety of the game. There are a couple when Kyler Gordon gets sent on the blitz and gets his sack. That happens. The next play, you have Kyler Gordon also on the same edge on the next play, and he doesn't end up, hitting home that time, but it's just something that you have to worry about. Jaquan Brisker on the sack. One, he got one for the personal foul, and then one he eventually does get hit home and is able to just burst through Alvin Kamara's block there and get a sack himself. Like, those are all different wrinkles that you can do when you have those types of guys in the secondary. And also, if you're consistently throwing those types of looks at an opposing offense, it does get confusing. And then here's the other part that I think was really prominent in the win against the Saints. It was that level of physicality that you saw throughout the entirety of the game. And TJ Edwards delivering big hits. You had, like I was talking about, the secondary guys back on the back end delivering some blows. And I was talking to TJ Edwards in the locker room after the game. I'm like, what do you think's allowing you guys to do that? To like take advantage of some of these hits that you're able to deliver on opposing offensive players. And he was basically just saying that, that's what happens when you're around the football. And it's something that they've been preaching for a while now. And when you're able to be around the football and have those instincts and can read the quarterback's eyes, you can deliver some big hits. And I thought Daniel Hardy gave an amazing quote. He said, fear is like one of the only advantages you have on defense. So in paraphrasing here, we have to make these guys worry about protecting themselves as opposed to the football. And when you can do that, then you're going to create some of these takeaways, because you never know, over the middle of the field, you're going to get popped. Like Alvin Kamara on some of these short passes, and for Spencer Rattler, it was interesting just watching him. He would throw a pass to the flat to Alvin Kamara, he'd get lit up by Kyler Gordon or TJ Edwards, and just nothing. Wouldn't even look like he grimaced at the play, or was just kind of like, damn, I shouldn't have put my guy out there to dry. It was just, okay, let's get on to the next one. You're Alvin Kamara, you're like, what the hell? You're allowing me to get popped here. You get, either find me sooner in the progression or don't throw the ball at my feet or whatever it may be. Like, he's taking some blows here and they're not getting any or much yardage out of it. So it's just, I don't know, as a running back, that would be frustrating. But that's what happens when you're around the football. You rely on film study, you react, and you make good plays. You make sound tackles. The sack that Tremaine Edmonds got, you guys, on Spencer Rattler, where he's leaving the pocket, rolling right in, just uses all of his 6'5" frame or whatever he is to sack Spencer Rattler outside the pocket. That's a great play. But that's also kind of factored into, why the defensive performance is what it was yesterday. Just sound tackling, instilling fear into opposing offensive players, and then just making just great plays. The second defensive play of the game, Montez Sweat tracking down Spencer Rattler, knocking the football out. And then you have Gervon Dexter falling on it. The interception that Nashawn Wright got, he's laying out to get that football. And then, you see that, and then Jaquan Brisker kind of redirects him to get an additional 10, 15, 20 yards on the return. That's great. And just really quickly on the Nashawn Wright's interception, you have that, but then you're also able to, the previous 2 games ago, you saw Tyreek Stevenson lay out for an interception. I'm just liking the way that these DBs are attacking the football. And Kevin Byard, showing the range on that one. But what makes that play is Jaquan Brisker, because he's able to apply pressure to Spencer Rattler at the last second, get in the face of Rattler. Kevin Byard makes the interception. So all those, that's what you want to see. It truly does take all 11 on Tremaine Edmonds' interception. I don't know what Spencer Rattler was looking at, but he threw it right at TJ Edwards' chest. It bounces off, ball goes into Tremaine. So again, you're seeing guys play better collective football, and it showed up in the defense's run game as well. And I was talking to Chris Williams, defensive rotational defensive lineman, and then also Jeremy Garrett, the defensive line coach. Following this was going into this week 7 matchup against the Saints, but after the Commanders game. And I asked both of those guys separately on separate different occasions, like what's kind of working with the run game. They're able to stop the run for the most part, outside of some Jaden Daniels runs against Washington, and then only allowed over 40 something yards, 44 yards against the Saints. What's been working again going into that week 7 game, and paraphrasing here, it just was going to take time for these guys to get used to each other, time for them to understand how each individual is going to play a certain aspect in the defense and their responsibilities. And you're starting to see these guys, I think, just understand each other a little bit better. And that's why the run defense has been what it was. That's why they're still continuing to make plays on the football. And even when they got flagged for some vicious hits, I like the response after the Kyler Gordon personal foul penalty, because that's, I think, normally an instance where you've seen teams in the past, whether it's been the Bears or other teams, where it's a bad personal foul penalty and then the offense capitalize on that play. That didn't happen. That Bears defense forced a turnover on downs. Montez Sweat coming up big on 3rd and 4th down to not allow that drive to become any more significant than it was. It was still turnover on down. So you do love to see that. And now that, Kyler Gordon's back to being healthy, Jaquan Brisker's playing more at the line of scrimmage, you're just seeing all the different possibilities from Dennis Allen and what he can potentially do with this defense. Squeegee in the chat here, your audio is great, but the video is lag. I understand. I appreciate for the people that are coming in, joining, hanging out. Don't know why the video is being what it is. I wonder if it's a StreamYard thing, could be my internet thing, could be maybe because it's been raining on and off. I have no idea, but appreciate you guys for even tuning in, hanging out. This won't be the best visual episode, but I tried everything to make it not suck. But at least the audio, as long as the audio is actually decent, that does help a lot. Crappy audio just makes you leave instantaneously. Probably heard that snap loud and clear because the audio is good. Let's get into, or maybe this is a good spot to just thank the sponsors here really quickly before getting to takeaway 2 and 3. Couldn't be doing any of this without Windy City Sports Cards. They specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. So whether you're a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, or Blackhawks, they've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. In addition to Chicago-focused items, they also offer a vast collection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players. So visit their online store to find exactly what you're looking for to complete your collection, or to just simply discover a new favorite. Check them out at 312-WindyCitySportsCards.com. That's 312-WindyCitySportsCards.com. And then, guys, just like Ben Johnson is going to make it happen this season on a 4-game winning streak, you guys have made this happen. Triumph Drinks is back for month 3 because of your support, and to celebrate, they gave us an even better deal. So to show some love to you guys for getting through this laggy episode, when you use the code NICK, N-I-C-K, you actually get 25% off your next order. Triumph is clean. It, tastes amazing, and it's right over my left shoulder. No sugar, no artificial ingredients. So thank you guys for making this happen. Now enjoy 25% off with the code NICK, N-I-C-K, at TriumphDrinks.com. All right, you guys, we're back. Nicholas Moriano Show, a laggy version of it, but still one that you can hear, which is all that, and not all that counts, but it definitely holds some weight here. The run game for the Bears. What I loved seeing in this entire, really, start to finish, the run game was pretty effective, prominent. You saw the different ways that the Bears were getting running lanes created for DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, using guys in motion, whether it was your tight ends, what the Bears have loved doing as a, and this is not really the run game, but they've really liked utilizing a Drew Dahlman pull, come around, block a edge defender on a play action pass concept. They do love doing that, but they like getting some of these guys in space. Darnell Wright saw Jonah Jackson reaching up to the second level. Theo Benedict had a rough game in pass protection, especially against Chase Young, but there were some still good plays that he had creating running lanes for the Bears running backs. And I think this is something that if you can continually get, it's not always going to be 222 yards or whatever it ended up being and 40 plus carries. It's not going to always be that, but you're starting to just get an effective rushing attack. And when the passing game hasn't been there for the Bears, you can lean on that. You can close a game out that way. You can, what I thought was one of my favorite sequences throughout this entire game, after the Deshaun Wright interception, after that play, you had 4 straight runs for the Bears offense. You have 12 personnel with Kmet and Durham Smythe on the field. Theo, I have in my notes, Theo, Benedict, Kmet, Tooney, all good blocks, and Swift finds a lane and gains 8 yards. Nice cutback from Swift. Next play, you get 0 yards from Swift. Just Rome misses a tackle or misses a block on linebacker Demario Davis. And then I said if Swift gets right edge, another possible big run, you're in 12 personnel again on that one. Then that third play, 13 personnel. You have Durham Smythe as your fullback in the backfield. Commit motions from left to right, and all 3 tight ends are on that right side. Durham Smythe, lead block to the second level, and Roshan Johnson gets an 11-yard gain. That's your third play of the drive. Then you go back to 13 personnel. Swift is patient with the run, initially going right with the blocks, cuts it back with good vision. Loveland's second level block, touchdown. Again, that was after a sudden change. The defense, creates a turnover in Deshaun Wright. The offense, we're going to run this ball. You can try to stop it. And they did on one play, 0 yards, but gains of 8, 11, and 11. When you have that, you guys, when you're able to run the ball like that, and then there are consistently big running lanes and good individual runs by DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, Roshan Johnson, his one carry. You love to see that. And this is also too, the offensive line, I think, just understanding the concepts a little bit better now going after week 7. One, just I think trusting each other a little bit more when there are combo blocks, knowing when exactly to leave a guy to go to your next assignment. Like, you're seeing all of that. You're also just seeing the scheme itself, the motions that Ben Johnson's utilizing, and the runners finding these lanes, hitting the holes, and getting good yardage off of it. Like, that is such a benefit to have that type of offense, to have that luxury when your passing game wasn't where it needed to be in this one. But the Bears were able to just lean on the rushing attack to ensure that they were able to not only have the offense out on the field, but still put up some points. You would like to see them put up more in the second half. Only 6, I believe, 2 field goal drives after scoring 20 in the first half and all the advantageous field position that the Bears offense created. But, it was still a 26-14 game and never, outside of the end of the first half going into the first drive of the third quarter, it never felt close for the Saints. The Saints just felt distant. Like they weren't actually going to come back and win this football game. And now I think that's a credit to the run game, getting physical. Colston Loveland putting some really good blocks on tape. I would love to, if I get an opportunity to, talk to him in the locker room for some of these breakdown videos that I'm planning on doing. I have some fun ones planned out. So if you're someone who's seen the content before, MarqueeSportsNetwork.com, I'll put all those breakdowns on there. Maybe there might be a free one or two that gets also published, so everybody can see the cool, different type of content that I like to create. But yeah, just run game. And I think too, it's going to be so important to have that run game travel on the road to Baltimore, especially considering the opponent that you're going to be playing, but also, I don't know. Nothing's been said yet about Lamar Jackson's status officially, so we want to keep that guy off the field as much as possible. And having a good run game is going to be a way to do that. So credit to Ben Johnson, the staff figuring something out coming out of the bye, and then ultimately finding 2 weeks now where the run game has been a positive talking point in these last two Bears victories. So Ben Johnson, he and the thing is too, he took a lot of pride in wanting to find a way to correct this. So far, so good. He's finding solutions to that run game. All right, guys, and just because of the video being super laggy, but the audio being all right, want to get to this last takeaway, and I won't go. I mean, I will obviously go in depth with it, but I don't want to go too much at length into this. Caleb Williams Day, and it left a lot to be desired. 15 to 26, 172 yards, 6.6 average, 0 touchdowns and interceptions, sacked once, 19.5 QBR, 61.7 rating. When you watch that first half, it was bad football from Caleb Williams. It was. I mean, that's where you're going to have whatever's going on between the snap infraction, Drew Dalman. I know he took ownership of those problems, but you can't have them. You can't have a bad snap from Dalman on, I believe that was 3rd and 4, have to settle for a field goal. You have the interception with Caleb targeting Rome. It's thrown. Caleb throws the ball before Rome is actually doing his outbreaking route, but it's still behind and still late. The ball it wasn't a tight spiral. I know the weather conditions weren't ideal, but it was kind of fluttered, gets picked off. And then there were just some unfortunate plays in that first half. You have I call it just a bogus pass interference call on Colston Loveland. Runs a slant. It gets penalized for standing perfectly still while presenting his hands to the quarterback. I mean, I don't know what you could do there. I have a protection issue on one note. Unblocked defender off Caleb's left has to get rid of the ball, and Chase Young tips the pass. There was a tip pass on the first offensive series. Right after that, I talked about the interception. I have here, we have the 20-yard reception on 3rd and 9 to Rome Odunze, wide open, good play design, motion, Rome from right to left, and find open space on the left side. Rome accelerates upfield, gains 20 yards. Obviously a good play, but I have a note here, Caleb trying to make a play. And what I noticed is that nobody was really open. Theo Benedict gives up pressure versus Young on a bull rush. Caleb escapes and tries to find somebody, but nobody's open, throws the ball away. Bears have to settle for another field goal. It's like some of these things that are happening are out of Caleb's control. If nobody's really open downfield with the concepts, you're giving up pressure on the left side, then you're just, as a quarterback, trying to make something happen out of nothing. It's tough to do. I know Ben Johnson talked about in his presser on Monday that there are some opportunities where maybe Caleb could just use his legs. So a fair criticism, but in what was being asked in some of these plays where I'm making note of, just not seeing viable options. Doesn't help too when you have pressure. I talked about the 4-play sequence where all the plays were runs. You don't really have to get Caleb involved, obviously, in that aspect with passing the ball. Where I do have, so one of his best plays of the day was a 26-yard reception, DJ Moore. He's getting some heat off that left side, has to get rid of the ball quickly. And I mean, DJ's not even looking at the ball or out of his break, but by the time he does, the ball literally is in his hands in stride and is able to go upfield, get some yards after the catch, be physical after the run, get a first down. Then I have this on a scramble that Caleb had in that same drive where DJ caught the ball. Didn't see anyone open. Tooney trying to hold his ground, but being pushed back. The throw on the sideline was a fastball, and this is going to definitely be a negative for Caleb. The throw on the sideline was a fastball, but defender gets his hands on it and deflects it out of bounds. And I just have it's lucky that it's not deflected inbounds around a bunch of different defenders. So it's like there's no need to take that risk if you're Caleb Williams. Negative play. No doubt about it. Let's see. We have a false start. Komet. I mean, I feel like Cole Komet's like been consistent with the false starts this year. And then we're going on to another offensive series here. I have Theo and Darnell give up some big time pressure, and Caleb somehow escapes Roman is wide open. And I get it. The play is off the original the original timing that's supposed to be, but Caleb's open, or Caleb is free. Rome is open near that left sideline. Just throws a fastball out of bounds. It's just one that where Caleb's scrambling to his left and incomplete. And Caleb talked about it. He just needs to be more accurate on some of those throws when he leaves the pocket. Then I have Theo again gives up pressure to Chase Young. Caleb escapes, and Rome needs to catch the ball with a defender on him. It's another play like so. Rome has been a consistent great target for Caleb this season. However, the contested catches still are still not being made. And I don't know at what point you kind of say, well, maybe it's just not what it's not the best aspect of his game at this point. And you're just kind of have to wait and see if it does get better. And I know he put on weight going into the season. I know he has great hands, good body control, but he just needs to learn to come down with some of the it wasn't a 50-50 ball where you're throwing it up. It's kind of where Rome's working back towards the football. There is a defender on him. And just catching the football, strong hands, and not allowing it to get dislodged. There was also one right before halftime where Caleb has to escape again, throws a ball that's catchable. Rome's not able to come up with it. So I don't know what needs to be done from Rome's part to start making those types of plays, but when or if he does, then you're getting a lot more yardage out of your wide receiver and allowing some of these drives to maybe just stay alive a little bit longer if you're Caleb Williams. But so that was the first half. And why I say maybe it wasn't as bad as I initially thought it was watching live from Soldier Field in the press box. I go to the third quarter, the very first start of the third quarter. You have Caleb hits DJ Moore an 11-yard gain on a bootleg play action pass. Starting off the third quarter right. Thought he could have hit DJ a little bit sooner, but completion to completion. You take him how you get him. Then you have a 22-yard pass to Luther Burden off play action in the middle of the field. Dahlman, when I think describing the play earlier, he rounds out his track and blocks Chase Young on the edge. It gives Caleb time to throw, and boom, hit Luther in the middle of the field. You have a 17-yard by DeAndre Swift, 15-yarder by Swift. And then I have a note on Swift where I think he could have kept cutting it outside on one of his runs, followed Komet outside, but he cuts it back inside. You get 2 yards, and the drive ends up stalling after you're getting all these positive plays. You have an 11-yard, 22-yard reception, 17-yard run, 15-yard run, and then that's the weird snap infraction, false start. Bears end up getting lucky on that one, that it wasn't anything more than that because it would have been turnover on downs there. On one of the next Bears offensive drives, I have pressure and Caleb has to extend, signals to Luther Burden to come back towards the play when he's rolling right. Luther does, and Caleb has a solid base. There is a defender kind of closing in, and boom, just kind of dirts the ball to Luther. So that's one where you'd want to have that back. But he did start off that first drive in the third quarter with, decent plays. I have a sack, nothing open for Caleb on 3rd and 6. Pocket collapses from Theo and Jonah, punt. I don't know what he's supposed to do on that one, to be completely honest, but didn't happen there for Caleb. Let's see. Another offensive possession. I have a beautiful 23-yard run by Swift up the middle. I have one of my other notes. Not seeing many open options on pass concept. Caleb has to avoid pressure and somehow gets the ball to Swift on that left side where he's going to get draped and buried. And then I put in my notes, Walter Payton high step. DeAndre Swift. He's been actually doing that where it's just this little leg up in the air. I actually used to do the same thing in high school. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. But it was because of just watching Walter Payton highlights. I know some of the OGs in here watching, like I did back in the day, just Walter Payton highlights, and you just see him to stick his leg out. He's like freezes and then goes and accelerates again. I might ask DeAndre Swift about that in the locker room. Like, where are you getting that from? He did it against the Commanders along the left sideline on the 3rd down reception that ended up being a 55-yard touchdown. Also did it right there. Play action pass to Loveland, open the flat, 7 yards. Bam. And then another negative play from Caleb Williams. Like, I don't know if is this on DJ, it's on Caleb, is this on, I don't know who this is on, really. but incomplete to DJ Moore in the post in the middle of the field where throw was never there. DJ never looked. Ball, I believe it hits a defender because the ball is behind DJ, but it just wasn't a good play whatsoever. But then other than that, I mean, you didn't have many opportunities to throw the ball. You had some completions to start the third quarter, but bottom line, I'm not coming out after this game, you guys. I wasn't overly concerned about the quarterback. He needs to play better, no doubt about it. The last 2 weeks, I think he needs to show that he can play better. But you're still finding ways to win games, and I do believe that if he plays like this version of himself in against the Saints or even the Commanders against the Baltimore Ravens, the Bears I don't know if they're going to win that football game. They need to start converting on some of this premium field position after turnovers. You need to hit some open targets. You need to be able to throw on the run. It can't just be one side of the ball executing. I know up until the last 2 weeks, the run game has been really inconsistent, but now it's here. And we have to see what Baltimore does to respond to that with Roquan Smith in the middle of that defense. So Caleb needs to play better, but I'm not overly concerned about him. There were some decisions where he got lucky, as I described earlier in this video. If you're still here watching the lagginess of it, I appreciate you, but he needs to make better decisions. Also, blocks need to be better. Theo Benedict needs to be better. Roma Dunze needs to be better. Caleb needs to be better. I think they'll get there, but I don't want to make any grand statement, but is the passing offense going backwards? I don't know. Like, I've seen people talk about that, and I don't know if that's where I want to go with this, but they're just plays that are being left out on the field. And Caleb, the biggest person that can help reverse that trend is Caleb Williams. Making the throws that I know we can make, making athletic plays, turning the scrambles that he has into positive gains. Starts doing that, the Bears are going to be all right. They're going to be just fine. And imagine when they start to actually play clean football. None of these false starts or just plays where you're giving up immediate pressure off the edge. And now you're forcing Caleb to kind of just play off structure, which is fine. I know he likes to do that, but the whole point of Ben Johnson being here is starting to coach him to succeed in structure, but also accentuate when he does, make those plays that are kind of improvised. So, like I said, I'm not overly concerned. Like I said, he needs to play better. He absolutely needs to play better, especially if you want to continue this win streak going on the road to face the Baltimore Ravens. Guys, I appreciate you for hanging out and just kind of persevering through the crappiness of the video quality. Like I said, the audio, just based off the comments I've gotten, it sounds like it's coming in crystal clear. Maybe crystal's a little much, but clear. So I appreciate you guys. I'll definitely work to see what's going on my end or internet, whatever it may be, for another future episode. But that's going to do it for this latest episode of the Nicholas Moriano Show. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment on this YouTube channel. It just helps the algorithms here. But also for any of those Bears fans that and I know you guys know a lot of Bears fans, especially with how they've been playing lately, let them know about me, about what I do. Tomorrow I'll be at Hallis Hall. Thursday I'll be at Hallis Hall. So lots of great content going to be coming up your way. And those film breakdowns, if you haven't seen them, just go on my X Twitter account at Nicholas Moriano. I posted a couple of free ones where it's just a full breakdown of just me and the players watching over film. And so it's a good way to just gain some insight what's going on in these plays. And I think ultimately it makes me a smarter football analyst. And, as a fan, I'm sure it'll make you guys appreciate the game a little bit more from the player's perspective. So go check that out when you get a chance. There will definitely be more of that content tomorrow, but I'm going to wrap it up for this episode. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, hanging out. Let's do this again next time.
Bend over to your right. What the was that? What's up, Bears fans? People want to hear me talk.